King George III, who reigned from 1760 to 1820, is one of the most well-known English monarchs due to the controversial nature of his mental health. George III was born on June 4, 1738, and was the grandson of King George II. When his father, Frederick, the Prince of Wales, died before George III turned 12, he became the expected heir to the throne. Despite growing up in a family environment rife with conflict and lacking attention from his parents, George III received a good education and was prepared to become king. He studied English, French, history, political science, and religion. In 1760, at the age of 22, George III became king after the death of his grandfather, King George II. The early leadership of King George III marked the beginning of a period full of enthusiasm and optimism in the British government. George III was considered to have a strong work ethic and dedication. Upon ascending the throne in 1760 after his grandfather King George II's death, he set aside the hard drinking and extravagant lifestyle often associated with previous royal family members. George III was determined to be more active in governmental affairs than his predecessors. He aimed to be more involved in decision-making and to play a stronger role in national policies. Additionally, he supported foreign policies that strengthened England's position on the international stage. He also advocated for domestic reforms, including reducing public expenditures and combating corruption in the government. George III played a significant role in managing the British colonies in North America. His leadership was associated with various events, such as the arrest of John Wilkes and the tax crises in America that later became triggers for the American Revolution. During the first 2 decades of his reign, George III managed to maintain stability in the government and developed a reputation as a hard-working king who cared for his subjects. This made him a popular figure among the people. However, despite the promising start of his leadership, George III's future reign would be marred by a mental health crisis that impacted the stability and direction of his government. In 1788, King George III experienced a significant mental health crisis that seriously affected his ability to rule and manage official duties. This crisis had a major impact on the British government and its political stability. During the onset of the crisis, George III began to display prominent symptoms. He suffered from severe sleep disturbances, often having trouble sleeping or sleeping for only a few hours. These sleep disturbances had a broader impact on his mental and physical well-being. George III started showing signs of paranoia, feeling suspicious and threatened by conspiracies or imagined enemies. He also experienced thought disorders and had difficulty concentrating or making decisions. His mental health condition influenced his behavior, causing emotional instability and unpredictable reactions that raised concerns about his ability to rule effectively. As the crisis continued to develop, George III's ability to govern effectively declined further. He became unable to perform routine governmental duties and became increasingly isolated from state affairs. This mental health crisis created a leadership vacuum in the country. As the king's condition deteriorated, government tasks had to be handled by his aides and members of parliament. The mental health crisis of George III persisted for several years, characterized by fluctuating symptoms. There were periods when his condition improved slightly, followed by periods of relapse. During this time, news about King George III's mental health condition spread widely to the public. His mental health condition triggered speculation and theories about its causes and nature. This situation became a major focus in the news and a subject of discussion among both the public and the government. His troubled mental state became a controversial topic that sparked debates and diverse interpretations among the public and government circles. Eventually, in 1811, due to George III's worsening mental condition, Parliament passed the Regency Act, granting authority to the Prince of Wales, Prince George, who later became King George IV, to act as regent while George III was unable to rule. In the 1810s, George III's mental health began to improve gradually, although he never fully recovered. After enduring a severe mental health crisis, his symptoms began to subside, and his mental stability improved. However, he never fully returned to his previous state of health. During this period, George III spent the remainder of his life in a more tranquil setting at Windsor Castle. He led a quieter life and distanced himself from the official duties of governance that had previously been an integral part of his routine. Prince George, who later became King George IV, assumed responsibility for carrying out official duties. Although his mental health condition didn't fully recover, this period of relative stability brought some peace to George III's life. He spent his final years in a more relaxed manner, free from the burden of the governmental tasks that had previously affected his well-being. King George III passed away on January 29, 1820, at Windsor Castle. He left behind a wife, Queen Charlotte, and 9 children. His death marked the end of his lengthy reign and had a significant impact on the history of Britain and the British monarchy.